So, hello everyone who joins us today for the webinar with guys from Purple Tech on agile business using no operations model. My name is Jaroslav Machaň and I'm a customer success manager in Revolgy. Our topic today is how we build an agile business with NoOps, meaning no operations model with AWS and Revolgy. Revolgy is here for more than 20 years. And just to shortly introduce us, we are a bunch of cloud native enthusiasts who could help you to grow your business in the cloud. We can also take care of the cloud infrastructure so you and your team can focus on making amazing things within your company and also to build a perfect product. So dear guests, we'll be more than happy to answer your questions, which you can send us during the webinar at the very end of this webinar, or then in the follow-up email. We would like also to encourage you to attend our poll with the questions if you are currently running any workloads in cloud and in which one you can select it in the menu of the application. So today I have a very special guest here. This is Jan and this is Martin from Purple Technology. Hello guys.
Hey.
So my first small questions. Can I ask you for a short introduction of yourself a bit? So maybe Jan, if you could start, please.
Yeah, thank you, and hello everyone. So my name is Jan, and I lead a team that we call WebTech team in Purple Technology. I guess we'll talk a bit more about what we do and how. Actually, that's the topic of this webinar. So yeah, my responsibility is taking care of the team, and that the team is working and has all it needs to work as efficiently as possible, and that all the members of the team are happy and can do the best work of their life here.
Martin.
Hi, my name is Martin. I'm from WebTech team, and I have been working in Purple Technology for almost 4 years. I studied computer graphics and multimedia at Faculty of Information Technology here in Brno, and then I work in Czech company Seznam. I think you know the name, and I work there as full stack developer. I work, for example, on first version of Seznam Správy, which is actually a really successful news portal. And now in Purple Technology, my role is senior full stack or JavaScript developer. And I lead a small JavaScript team, and we are mainly working on the projects for brokerage companies. And I think that's enough about me.
Perfect, guys. Thank you. Just to follow up on Martin, you just mentioned the Forex. So, guys, if you should quickly introduce your company, the Purple Tech, how does it help to your customers? What is the core of the business?
So our goal is to work closely with FX brokerages and other financial companies to make sure that they deliver great experiences to their end customers. So in Purple Tech, we have many different teams. WebTech is only one of them. We take care of legal stuff, of HR, support work. We can help in many different areas our clients, and we make sure that they can focus again on doing their business efficiently and well. And our goal is to help them outsource as much as possible. So we work closely with two successful brokers, one in Europe, one operating globally, and in our team we deliver web applications for them. So for example, if you're a client of such a broker, you need an interface to deposit money, to open accounts, to actually onboard inside to become a client, because you need to go through a multi-step process and verifications. And we also help the team inside those brokerages to automate a lot of processes. So we make sure that the broker can use as little operations people as possible, and really focus on their core business and not on manual work So so that's what we bring.
Perfect, thank you. Martin, anything you just want to add?
Yeah, maybe just small notice. When you want to imagine one of our products is something pretty similar to internet banking, for example. So it's much more simple than internet banking, but it's this kind of application.
Thanks, great. Guys, if I'm listening to you, it sounds like a lot of operations you are bringing to the daily routine. So my question now is, why did you decide to go for the no operations, the NoOps model?
Yeah, so I think it actually comes from the whole history of the company and how we grew up. It's also like we don't follow any strict methodology, not only regarding to operations, but also to development and other stuff. Like for example, we do use Scrum, but we always like pick only those things that actually we find beneficial for us at the time and that are solving our immediate problems. And the same approach we actually take with operations. So at the start, we were growing closely with one of the brokerages, and at the start we didn't need much complexity. Like we were just a few guys trying to bring something innovative to the market, to really take care of the clients, to be really like human oriented, to make sure that we are not the hardcore money focused businesses, but we actually care of the end client and their experience. So we started with this idea and started the Purple Tech to deliver the technological background for that. And we started as developers because we wanted to bring great user interface, and we were only developers. The products we started with were simple and we could manage ourselves. We used platforms like Heroku that, of course, make it quite easy for us to not to care about much of the operations. But as we grew up, as the brokerages grew, we saw much more complexity being introduced. The team of developers was becoming bigger and bigger, and the stakes that were involved were getting much larger because larger clients were involved and larger businesses were involved. So we needed to focus on actually solving our potential problems, and we discovered that we don't actually have that many people that could be well responsible for operations. And the best way for us was to find a partner who actually is expert in this area and can help us deliver this on a professional scale. Because for us, hiring inside would mean huge complexity, hiring people that we don't have expertise with, and managing a huge team of people that could provide 24/7 support and maintenance. So we wanted to focus on the development. That's what we liked, that's what our team is about. And of course, we still need to get some know-how and to know what we are doing, but for a lot of the work, we can actually outsource it and get much more experienced people on board very quickly. So that's that was our philosophy, how we grew, and we want to keep the company as small as possible. And even though we are growing quite fast, we still want to keep in mind that is that person really someone we need to have inside, or can we get some more expertise elsewhere? And that's our approach.
Martin, do you want to add something?
I totally agree with Honza, and I just add one thing, that we also wanted to improve the development experience.
Perfect. I think we will get to the developer experience later because it is quite a topic.
Yeah.
At that time when you were starting to think about the no operations model, did you also face any technological debt, even you are a small and young company?
Yeah, so At the time, we of course got like the way we grew up. We experienced a lot of changes within the company. As I mentioned, like we were a small company growing quite fast. So so we needed to make sure that what we are building is delivering as much business value as quickly as possible. But of course, with that, we were starting to incur some debt. And first of all, we started to work with a different provider that was using some open source technology and helping us manage it. And we run into first issues, making sure that what we build is actually manageable by an external company. And then when moving to Revolgy, then we discovered that, hey, still the way we grew up, we still have a lot of unresolved things, issues, undocumented systems that we need to organize better to make the outsourcing work as efficiently as possible. But we still manage it quite well, even with those debts, and we are working very hard on improving this every day.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you.
I will add a little bit from the developer point of view. We had many projects, different projects, and we had different tools for deployment. And we have, for example, on one project we have Circle CI, on other project we have Worker, and in some case it was a little bit difficult for us to deploy some application because we had to study or ask somebody how to do it. And I think the main problem was in diversity of the tools that we used, and now we are trying to move and define some basic rules and some way how to migrate it to some unified solution.
Great, thank you. So as I understand it correctly, trying to get rid of number of solutions and use as less as possible. Great. And I also understand that this is the never-ending topic in every technological company.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's dev, but it's the documentation, lack of it. So I don't think, guys, you are the only one who is struggling.
Documentation and tests.
Yes, documentation and tests. I think that will be with us, forever. Great. Let's move to another question. So, guys, can I ask you to describe your current setup, let's say, more deeply?
Yeah, so maybe Machaň, do you want to start with?
Yeah, maybe I can start. We have, let's say, two universities. We have one with older applications, what is classical server-based applications, and we had deployed somewhere. And then we have a second universe, what is kind of new thing, and we are trying to think serverless. And by this, I don't think just framework, but think about the projects and about the solution in serverless way. So we are trying to move everything to AWS and use the services, for example, Lambda or step functions, DynamoDB, almost all, or let's say as much as possible from the Amazon services to make our system more stable and maintainable, let's say. Yeah.
It brings a lot of benefits because it's linked to what we actually do. As I mentioned, that we try to automate a lot of processes for example, for the companies, and tools like step functions help visualize it and manage it much more easier than if you code it as a server and then have to maintain the code, maintain the organization of the code, and visualize the processes that are actually happening. Because if you have a multi-step process and I don't know, you need to send an email, record an account into a CRM, and open an account on a trading server and then deposit some money into it, for example, then you have like multiple separate steps that are using separate systems. And if you separate all of those into individual Lambda function and chain them together in step functions, you have much more transparent system that's easier to manage than if you have it inside the server.
Yeah, and I will add one thing. In this second universe, we are focusing on serverless and architecture as a code. So we want to describe the architecture as a code, and then it's pretty much more maintainable and everything. And if I return to the first universe, actually this was the bigger problem than the second universe, because every application is a little bit different and from a different age and everything. And that in current setup, we use there something as Docker, Kubernetes, and some continuous integration and continuous deployment. And actually, we don't know as much about this because you guys from Revolgy implemented this. So I think we can move to next question. Yeah.
To develop.
Basically, what I wanted to say is that like the third, you mentioned like there are two never-ending topics, like the tests and documentation. So I think the third one with all the companies of a certain age would be a legacy code and legacy applications that you still need to support for several reasons or systems that are dependent on it. So of course we have some applications like that too, and we make sure that they are still well supported and well maintained, and they are part of the first universe where we need to. They are actually still some of our biggest applications as we are migrating more and more to serverless, but of course still a lot of functionalities in this older part, and the setup we have now makes it much more transparent and easy to deploy, even for like new developers to come to it. And the flow is the same for every app now, which didn't used to be, and it was hard to find a person who knew how to deploy that app or something. So now this is much more easy for the developers and approachable.
Guys, you practically answered my next question, which was on why did you decide to go with this solution and what benefits did you expect? So maybe just for our audience to make it more outcomeable, if you just can wrap it up. So main reasons of the decision to go with this solution and main benefits, just to point it out really quickly for our audience.
Actually, I can start maybe from the developer point of view. We just want to push the code and it's done.
So that was the quick answer. The longer answer is that that was the premise we started with. Hey guys, this is what we want to do. Like, we want our developers to just push the code, and that's all that they should care about. And from the business point of view, that's also important. We want to make sure that there is a team behind it, that if there's something goes wrong, even with the deployment or with the running of the app, or like some unexpected event is happening, that we have someone behind it who's ready to step in and knows what he's doing, and knows who to talk to and how to solve an issue without us just trying to figure out like what the hell is going on and how do we stop it or start it or whatever the problem is. And of course, this requires a huge amount of know-how, and that's what we expected from it. So to bring on board and to just have a backup for the things that we don't know, basically, like for this fourth quadrant of things that we may not even be realizing that there are some holes in our understanding of the system, and we need to be sure that there is someone who can fill in those holes and has our back.
So practically speaking, that you are really able to focus on the development of your core application and the business and leave the infrastructure, I would say, calmly sleeping out there to be covered by those guys, let's say in Revolgy. Great. Imagine for a second I'm your owner. I'm a street guy, and I would like to ask you, so you just adopted and implemented the new solution, but how do you measure the success of it, the success of adoption of the solution and possibly the migration success? What are the, numbers?
So, so there are of course multiple things we consider. We don't have any like strict metrics. Of course, we measure things like uptime and things like that, but there were no big issues with that even just before the migration. So the only requirement was that it doesn't get worse, so we don't start seeing problems. So what we focus on more is the developer experience and the trust in the partner. So these are all hard to quantify, of course, but the fact that the developers can be efficient and know what they are doing and can deploy any app easily and are happy doing their work, that's, I think, one of the most critical measurements. And the other is, of course, if we have the team to step in if something is going wrong. So if there is a technical issue, that the issue gets resolved very quickly and without more downtime or limited functionality, then it's absolutely necessary to get the issue resolved. And of course, like what is important is the financials, of course, like how much does it cost, and especially compared to having an internal team and managing it and taking care of it.
Developer experience. Let's make it an extra question, guys, because if there is any developers in our attendees, and I believe so, it would be a topic for them. So just a quick one. Is it a topic in your company, the developer experience, and how do you approach it?
Definitely, because we always have a problem with development capacity. So we don't have developers and we don't have time and we have a lot of projects. So for us, it's perfect that we can focus just on coding, but it's not just we don't care about DevOps or something. We have some colleagues in team that are interested in DevOps and understand the infrastructure and how it is done and can change something and can do some updates in configuration. But in general, we can focus just on coding and on architecture. And I think from the migration, I can tell that developers are happier, optimistic about this because they have much more time and can just finish the code, push, and they are not caring about the deployment and making application or deploying the application to production. And again, I will repeat myself, there is a lot of advantages of serverless thinking. We have better architecture, reusable blocks of code in Lambda function, connecting the Lambda function in step function. We have visualized flow of the code and of the function. We have better monitoring, and actually the quality, modularity, reusability, and maintainability of code increased a lot. So I am happy. I am happy for developers.
Yeah. Like I think like if any developer is watching, they know exactly what this is about, and that it's much more fun to work in that environment. And of course, any developer within our team is like our Purple team member, and like in our DNA within the whole company, like the number one priority is the people here, and that they are doing a work that is interesting, that they like, and with people that they like, and they can do it well. So like that's one of our most important concerns, and so the developer experience is of course a part of that, because we don't want our people to be frustrated. And by the way, if you are a developer watching, we are hiring.
I'm really happy, guys, to hear that the developer experience is a topic for you, because I was joining some developer experience community like some 3 years ago. At that time, it was something like, really specific. Like, let's say in Czech Republic 15 years ago, maybe technical documentation and technical writers. So I perceive it that the developer, let's say, advocates and developer evangelists are really necessary to have in a company. Perfect. Let's have a look on the implementation of this current setup in your company. Can you describe it? And don't forget, if you were having any problems during the implementation, we can mention those like vendor lock-in or time to deliver, stuff like that, just to describe it broader, in the broader way, the implementation.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we first realized that we need, when we first realized we need like a partner such as you, we run into issues that we had hard time solving, and we realized, hey, we need to have a partner who knows what they are doing, and we discovered a company, as I mentioned, that they were providing an open source alternative to Heroku, basically. But at that time, we ran into some limits of Heroku and wanted to move elsewhere. So this open source system was more configurable and more under our control. So, and the people behind it, they provided for some fee, they provided the support very similar to basically what you are providing. So we started to work with them. We adopted this open source solution and started using it. It worked well. We were quite happy with the cooperation, but after some time, they decided that and they want to change the business model a bit, and what they are providing there, they decided they will be changing the service in some ways. Part of it is also like a very big financial increase for the same services. So we started looking elsewhere for alternatives, and we found you guys. So we decided, hey, that sounds interesting. Let's talk, and we decided to start the migration to, and what we then discovered is that like the open source system, even though it's open source, was not really standard, and like any company basically we talked to had the problems like, yes, of course we can provide the service you are after, but not on the current setup you have. Like you have to migrate to something more standard. We would transfer you to things like Docker images and Kubernetes and all those things. So we decided, okay, let's go with that because it will be more transparent, maintainable, and standardized, so easier to go even elsewhere. If we were unhappy with one company, it would be easier to change to a different one. So so that happened, but of course, like the lock-in to the systems of the previous company was problematic because we had to migrate everything. It took a few months, and with the limited documentation that we had, it was kind of a pain in okay, I won't be saying that word, but
we all know it.
And but we managed. It was not easy, especially for you, but I think it all ended up well, and it's now running on more standardized solutions. So it was good.
Great. Martin, do you want to add anything?
Maybe I can a little bit describe the open source platform that Honza is talking about. Actually, it was open source platform for running application in production, and it includes deployment and delivery, routing, actually both in databases as Postgres or Redis and everything, load balances. And ideal state was, or the vision was just push code and everything is done. But then we always had some problems with wrong routing or missing writes to the file or some speed issues. So I think this was mainly the reason to look for something different and something more standardized, and it sounds terrible that we have to migrate everything, but actually you guys from Revolgy help a lot with this, and actually it wasn't so big problem. It just takes a time.
Happy to hear that, guys. So if I should ask you if you are, let's say, happy with the current setup, and if there are anything you are unhappy with, so are you planning to improve the current solution any further in the near future?
Yeah, so as Martin already mentioned, and maybe he will add more info, but the current setup for the developers is much more transparent and easy to use, so we are quite happy with that. We divided the system into the two universes, as Martin mentioned. So one is the older systems that use servers, the other one is the serverless part. So currently, mostly the first universe is there, and we want to standardize and move to even the serverless part to have it even easier for us and even more unified and even better supported. So that's one improvement we plan. We are also trying to find out the best way to cooperate on the day-to-day support. So we are using Slack and still some making improvements there to have it very easy and quick for our developers to have feedback, even like on non-extremely critical events. So to have a good experience there as well. And yeah, what I can say, like so far we didn't have any big outage or like very, very serious issue that we would have to solve. So hopefully that will not happen anytime soon. And if so, the experience will be amazing there as well. But fingers crossed that this is not coming.
Hopefully. Martin, anything you would like to add to this?
Actually, from our developer side, it's no time to. It's not as long as we want to make definitive conclusion if it's perfect or not, but definitely it's going better, and we are really optimistic because we are pretty close to just push and done, and that's our goal. Yeah, and I think from my point of view, it's pretty nice to have experienced partner for operations, so we don't need to be experts on everything. So it's perfect.
That's true. Guys, this was our last question, but I would just ask you if you would like to add anything to this, or encourage our attendees to ask some questions, which our dear audience, you can do it via the GoToWebinar control panel still, or definitely we will send some follow-up email, and you can definitely ask there to anything you are wondering about. But Jan and Martin, is there anything you would like to add before we will have some final words and finish the webinar?
I think like we mentioned, like we discussed all the related things quite closely. So I would just encourage you to ask any questions, and of course we will be very happy to answer them even post the webinar. And yeah, of course, if this sounds interesting to you and you are a developer, ideal JavaScript developer or C# developer in a different team, we didn't actually mention this. Like all our stack is JavaScript based. We didn't really talk about it about the specific development languages we use. So our programming. So we use Node.js for backend and multiple frameworks for frontend for new systems, mainly React, of course. But Martin can even elaborate on that if someone is interested. So yeah, we are hiring.
And guys, what are some channels where our audience can catch you? Is it a Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, GitLab?
Yeah, so well, I'm for sure I am on Twitter. I'm not very active there, but I will receive anything, so you can engage me there as Jan Červinka. For the we do have a company Instagram profile that is quite active, so you will find us there as a Purple team. And of course, we have a website at purple-technology.com.
Perfect, thank you. If I should add channels for Revolgy, we are definitely on Twitter at Revolgy. We are as well on GitHub, LinkedIn, and Facebook, so you can catch us simply anywhere. So I would really want to say thank you for our audience today. Thank you for joining and watching the webinar, and mainly guys from Purple, Honza Červinka and Martin Ubaj. Guys, thank you a lot for being together today. And
thank you.
Hopefully see you soon and possibly with our audience in the near future. So thanks everyone for watching and bye.
Thank you. It was fun. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.